Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. Today, we're going to talk about, we're going to look inside the mind of Christopher Watts. A lot of people think that Christopher Watts is a really nice person and that he really loved Shanann and the girls. People believe that he just snapped and suddenly killed them. It's not surprising that people have this view of him because of the way he represented himself to everyone. No one had a bad word to say about him. He was always friendly and cheerful and polite. People would say, "I don't believe it. He was such a nice guy. How could he do something like that?" These are the common reactions when people find out that someone that they know who was seemingly empathetic and warm and supportive turn out to be a killer. In my professional opinion, Chris Watts did not snap because he wasn't the loving family man he pretended to be. He never loved his family because he's not capable of love. Chris Watts is a wolf in sheep's clothing. We hear a lot of people throwing around psychological terms such as psychopath, sociopath, narcissist. So tonight we're going to delve into Chris Watts' personality as it relates to narcissistic personality disorder. A person's personality is a cluster of traits that make up a person's essence, their feel. It's how they interact with the world around them. So a lot of people think that a narcissist is very easy to spot because they are arrogant and conceited. But actually, there are two forms of narcissism: grandiose, also referred to as overt, and vulnerable, also known as covert. Overt narcissism is characterized by an inflated self-image, a high self-esteem, attitudes of entitlement, a tendency towards exploiting people. An overt narcissist will tell you how amazing they are and how successful they are, whereas an overt narcissist is related to characteristics such as defensiveness, avoidance, insecurity, defensiveness, vulnerability, low self-esteem, and they actually have a high level of anger and hostility. Covert narcissism, these people have a higher negative emotionality, which includes depression, anxiety, anger, shame, envy. Covert narcissists come across as someone who is shy and considerate, caring and warm, and they will typically elevate their partner and put them on a pedestal, and they will treat their partner as if the partner is the one who has the power and control in the relationship. Covert narcissists believe that they are capable of being fantastic, but someone or something has prevented them from achieving that. So as a result, they become very jealous and bitter of other people's success. Overt narcissists can be very arrogant and they stand out, whereas a covert narcissist is very good at fitting in because they tend to sense how they need to blend in so as not to stand out. They come across as very non-threatening, humble, modest, or shy. And people see them that way. And so people become comfortable around them very quickly. It actually seems to other people that a covert narcissist, that the last thing that they want is to be in control. Whereas an overt narcissist is charming and charismatic and extroverted. Overt narcissists can be so arrogant that they actually believe that they are amazing, and they believe that they are being complimented even when they are not. Whereas a covert narcissist, they truly believe that they missed out in life, and they do tend to play the victim. They think that they're being criticized even when they are not. And this happens because they are obsessed with thinking about themselves and their own feelings, and they do have a truly pessimistic and negative point of view. Covert narcissists spend a lot of time thinking about the people that they believe have wronged them or slighted them. And they will keep ruminating on those things, and they will even fantasize on how they want to punish those people. Overt narcissists, they don't care about social norms. For instance, if an overt narcissist gets angry, they will act out on their rage, even if they're in public. Whereas a covert narcissist will not show how they feel in public, and they will either completely keep their mouth shut or they will be passive aggressive. Their rage comes out when no one is looking. They may take all their anger out on their partner, or they can be the person behind the wheel in a road rage incident. Covert narcissists can be very cruel and nasty as long as they are anonymous, and that's because they are cowards. Overt narcissists, on the other hand, tend to surround themselves with successful people because it makes them look good. Overt narcissists can actually do very well in life because they believe they deserve it. Their sense of entitlement leads them to believe that they can step all over people to get ahead. Covert narcissists, on the other hand, they do not enjoy being around successful people because they feel contempt and jealousy. Being around successful people makes them feel their inner shame. Depending on how malignant the person's narcissistic traits are, can help us predict how dangerous or deadly they can be. Covert narcissists can be a lot more dangerous than overt narcissists because their rage is pent up. This is because they don't express it when they actually feel it. There is so much self-hatred and shame associated with how they feel about their true self. And because of this, a lot of rage builds up inside of them, and they can take it out on someone in a much more frightening way than an overt narcissist. A covert narcissist's feelings of intense shame and anger, those feelings have been there since they were children. And because of that, their anger can turn to rage. Narcissists typically have a narcissistic parent, and typically it's the mother. A narcissistic mother is not interested in her child's emotions. Instead, they focus on what the child can do for her. Narcissistic mothers are not capable of empathy. And because of this, when the child is upset, the mother doesn't provide the child with any emotional support. And so narcissistic parents tend to put the child on a pedestal and shower the child with attention only when the child does something that the parent likes, such as in Chris Watts's case, being good at sports. In Cindy's infamous interview, she talked about how he was good at sports. She talked about his medals and trophies and what a good boy he was, and stated that he was a perfect teenager. She focused on his achievements in the interview to make her look good as a mother. Look at what my child has achieved. I suspect, as Chris was growing up, that his emotions were not respected, and at a very early age, he became very accommodating and learned to conform to be what his mother wanted him to be. The problem is, when he became so accommodating, it did not align with his own emotions. So he learned to cut off his emotions because they were not being supported by his parents. And I believe that it is at that point that he began to develop his fake persona, or what we call his mask. Covert narcissists do not have a genuine personality because their personality is the narcissistic personality. And because of that, they have to wear their mask and have a fake persona. And it is very difficult for someone to have a fake persona. And because of that, they're not a real person. They are just an empty suit, a cardboard cutout of a person. And I believe that's what Chris was. You know, Shanann was known to say that Chris was not much of a challenge for her and that he was too easy, but that is very typical of a covert narcissist. You see, in the ideation phase of the relationship, the narcissist will treat you like they would do anything for you. And the longer this first idealization phase lasts, the more power the narcissist has, because this gives them time to really reel their partner in. And Chris was very good at this because he convinced everybody that he was a really nice guy. He did that with Shanann. He had to win her over. When he met Shanann, she was going through a very vulnerable stage in her life. And he told the detective stories about him going to her colonoscopy and letting her sleep with her head in his lap for hours. He talked about laying out her weekly medication. Covert narcissists seek out partners with the kind of qualities that Shanann had. She had empathy. She had a good heart. She was hardworking. She was emotional. These types of qualities give the narcissist what we call narcissistic supply. Covert narcissists give their partner all of the control in the relationship, or so it seems. I've heard a lot of people on YouTube say very unkind things about Shanann, calling her bossy. But think about it. If someone gives you all the control and decision making in a relationship, well, then that person's going to act like a boss. Shanann was a very capable person, and she took on the role that Chris assigned to her. Shanann behaved in a way that Chris encouraged her to be, because he never tried to change that dynamic. The reality is, a narcissist cannot love anyone. It's impossible that he loved his wife and daughters. Unless you can call what you feel about your car love, or because you love your car because of the job it does for you, that's about the level that he loved his wife and children. His children did a job for him because they helped him look like a really nice guy when he spoke to his friends and colleagues. Every time he showed them pictures of his kids or talked about them, he knew that he was coming across as a really nice guy, the perfect father. And that's what he needed to do to keep the mask on so that he could exist in society. After the what we call love bombing phase of the relationship, a narcissist will move their partner into what we call the devaluation stage of the relationship. And this is where the narcissist's mask slips, and the partner will see the narcissistic rage for the first time. Narcissistic rage is the uncontrollable and unexpected anger that results from a narcissistic injury. And a narcissistic injury is any threat to the narcissist's self-esteem or their self-worth. Some examples of narcissistic rage range from intense outbursts and sudden fits of anger to passive aggressive acts such as simmering resentment, icy silence, deliberate neglect, or cutting sarcasm. What distinguishes narcissistic rage from normal anger is that it is usually unreasonable, it's disproportional, and it is cuttingly aggressive. We all know that Chris and Shanann's marriage was in trouble during the time that she was away with the children in North Carolina. Chris wasn't responding to her text messages. He wasn't picking up the phone. And because Shanann believed that the idealization phase of the relationship was the true relationship, and that Chris was being his true self during that phase, when the relationship moved into the devaluation stage, she believed that something just went wrong, that there was some kind of miscommunication. The truth is that what Chris loved about Shanann and the children was what they made him look like. They made him look like a nice guy, the perfect husband, the perfect father. And they boosted his ego by showing their love for him. And since the girls needed and loved Shanann, I believe that Chris resented that. And this was evident in some of the stories he told the detectives about how the girls would scream and cry for Shanann all the way home from daycare after he picked them up. He also told the police that the girls were starting to act like Shanann and were repeating things that Shanann would say to him when she was upset with him. And one of the most important things to a narcissist is respect. And when the children appeared to disrespect him and show that they were their own person, I believe it made him very resentful. In Chris's infamous sermon on the porch, he leaked micro expressions of contempt for Cece when he was talking about her and calling her rampage. It would have absolutely annoyed him that Cece would not have been within his complete control. And as the weeks passed in North Carolina, Shanann became increasingly frustrated with Chris. And when Shanann got upset over the infamous Nutgate incident, she sent Chris several text messages accusing him of not standing up for his daughters. And at first, his responses to her texts were apologetic. But when she questioned him about why he had been acting so coldly while she was away, his responses became very vague. And he made some lame excuse about his head not being in the right place and that he was working on it. This is textbook narcissistic behavior. Because when a narcissist is confronted with their own behavior, they will stonewall you. They can be vague, dismissive. They may walk away from you. They may gaslight you, and so on, in order to gain the upper hand over you. You see, it's a threat to a narcissist to see their partner have so much power and confront them with something that they have done wrong. And one of the strongest emotions a narcissist can feel is shame. So if you shame a narcissist, they will turn against you and they will make sure that you end up feeling ashamed. After Chris joined Shanann and the children in North Carolina, Shanann was left feeling extremely confused during that week. He told her he didn't love her and he didn't want the baby. And she was probably thinking that this can't be the real him, that something's just gone off the rails, because how can someone who loves their wife and children suddenly behave in such a cold and callous way? But telling Shanann that he didn't want the baby was one of the most obvious signs that he was a covert narcissist. He knew she wasn't going to abort the baby. She'd been telling her family and friends and had planned a gender reveal party. So we have to ask ourselves, what was he trying to achieve by telling her that he didn't want the baby? I can tell you what he was trying to achieve. He was trying to devastate her. When Chris was in North Carolina, he completely dropped his mask and he was now behaving and saying things that were very cold and hurtful to Shanann. He did that intentionally. He said things like, "I don't love you," to Shanann that week because he wanted to gain emotional reaction from her. And Shanann didn't realize that she was in the devaluation stage of their relationship. In this stage, this is when the narcissist turns on you. They devalue you. And the narcissist actually gets narcissistic supply from doing that. The narcissistic supply is an ego boost. Seeing any emotional reaction from Shanann to his callous treatment of her would have given him a lot of narcissistic supply. And that's why he behaved that way. He was shifting the power in the relationship from Shanann to himself. Then the relationship moved into what we would call the final discard. A narcissist will only leave their partner if they have a replacement waiting in the wings. And Chris had found his replacement in his mistress. The things that matter the most to a covert narcissist is to maintain their image or their false persona. Chris Watts wears a mask of a really good person. The person he is pretending to be does not exist. He has to stick to a strict script of, I'm a really nice guy. He didn't want to look like the kind of person that would leave his pregnant wife and children. His overriding concern throughout his life has been what everyone thought of him. That is the thing that matters the most. And the narcissist's survival depends on everyone believing in the mask that they wear. When watching all of the videos of Chris, the most important thing that comes across is his concern about how he is being viewed. And the only time that he showed any horror was when he talked about his colleagues learning about what he did. His reaction screamed shame. He didn't want people to think less of him because he has a strong need to be adored and acknowledged. He played the role of being the sidekick to Shanann. He played the role of being the shy and helpful and kind husband. He gave Shanann a false sense of power and control in the relationship. The truth is, he wanted to be the center of positive attention, and that is what drives his behavior. Chris Watts didn't snap. He just dropped his mask and his true colors emerged. Everything before that was a lie. It was false. Chris wore that mask so well that people were really shocked by what he was capable of. Chris has demonstrated that he is incapable of respecting a human life. People can kill by accident or a fit of rage, but the depravity of what he did just doesn't fit with someone who cared about his family. Again, Chris Watts did not snap. He just dropped his mask and killed his family. And to this day, he still shows no remorse and takes no responsibility. And when he is not blaming the evil that took over him. He is now hiding behind his newfound religion. That's his new mask. He believes that if God forgives me, how can you not? Thank you so much for spending the time to watch my video. And if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel and tell your friends. Thank you.